Hi, Judy.
Hello,
Yes. How are you, Judy?
I am wonderful.
Awesome,
I am
awesome.
giving God thanks for my life. I'm giving Him thanks for health and strength. I'm giving Him thanks for His mercy that is new to us every morning. So He says it's a command that we give thanks unto the Lord. And I have so many things to thank Him for.
Indeed, indeed. What a blessing. It is an honor and a privilege to speak with you, Judy. This is Judy Mowatt from the Bob Marley and the Wailers. Um,
I praise the group that performed with Bob, the vocal group, female vocal group that performed with Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Thank you very much. How long did you perform with this band for?
I would say over 7 years. I cannot tell you if it is 10 or, but I know it's over 7 years.
Okay, thank you. What was life like then, touring with Bob?
Touring with Bob, we knew that we were on a mission. I would not call it entertainment, but it was more a mission bound calling. Bob was, I can definitely say that Bob was a musical prophet caught by God because most of his prophetic declaration, the things that he declared, we saw them happening. We saw it happening afterwards. And even now, we are looking at a lot of his declarations, prophetic declarations. Like the song Natural Mystic. Many more will have to suffer. Many more will have to die. Don't ask me why. And some people are not able to state why so many people are dying. We look at 2019, 2020, 2021 with COVID. And I mean, it affected the whole world. And the whole world lost so many lives. You know what I mean? And Bob is saying, don't ask me why. Those things, Bob's songs came ahead of it this time. I mean, we see the things happening now. But there are so many things that Bob predicted then. We see them manifesting now, and this is why I can safely say that a lot of what he said was prophetic.
Thank you. What was your most memorable moment with him?
I mean, people ask me this all the time, and I honestly believe that when we went to Zimbabwe, he was invited to Zimbabwe to do the independence celebration. And we were there and we saw the Union Jack took down the Zimbabwean flag. And the new flag was hoisted, which is the new Zimbabwean flag. The Rhodesian flag was taken down, and the new Zimbabwean flag was put up. And while we were on stage, Bob was always in his element when he's singing. I mean, he's never on the earth like he's making eye contact with anybody. His eyes were always closed, and he's getting his inspiration from above. And while we were on stage, there was a strange sensation, a certain smell that would dry every saliva out of your mouth, and your eyes feel dry and burning. And we weren't able to tell what it was. Then when we look out in the audience, we saw little children just falling to the ground. And I said, Lord, I don't want to come here and lose my life. So we decided, Marcia, myself, and Rita, decided that we were coming off the stage. And then right behind us was the other members of the Wailers. Bob was still up there. And when Bob opened his eyes and looked around, he never saw anybody, so he came off. But for us, we were trying to hurriedly get out of the stadium because we didn't know if we were going to lose our life that night, because Prince Charles and his battalion was there. We dignitaries from different countries were represented. And so we didn't know if it was a war starting or whatever. So we insisted that we wanted to go back to the house where we were staying. And when we got back, we watched a part of it on the television. But then we realized it wasn't as bad. Looking at it from the television, it wasn't as bad as we saw, on the spot at the location. And we asked the person who took us to take us back to the stadium. But when we got back, finally, we saw Bob and Wailers coming off the stage and heading to us. We felt I felt so ashamed. I felt like a coward, and Bob looked at us and said, "Now I know who are the true revolutionaries." Because we left Jamaica on a mission for a particular movement. Zimbabwe independence. Bob has sung songs about Zimbabwe and the abuse and the atrocities that, our people experience in Zimbabwe. And now it's time, to sing those songs, to release freedom in the atmosphere. It doesn't matter what situation or what circumstances were happening. We should not have left because we were like soldiers, soldiers there waiting to be told what to do, and whatever we saw that was negative and even looked dangerous. Yes, you have to preserve life. You have to preserve your life. Self-preservation, they say, is the first law. We have to preserve our lives. But I felt personally that what the mission that we went for was aborted, not by Bob, but I felt personally I didn't give it my full 100 because I left in the midst of it.
Oh, wow.
And what I want to even say,
yes,
that Bob Marley is a man that every word that he sung, he meant it. He stood by it. And if it meant that he had to die for it, he would, because that was the heart and that was his commission and mission.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I have a question from Africa, Judy. His name is Menelik Nestor Gibbons, otherwise called Don Dada. He is a South African Zimbabwean reggae artist, and his parents named him after Bob, which is the name Nestor. And the question reads, Dear Mama Judy, it is clear that the impact which yourself, Marcia, and Rita have made, along with Bob, is still felt across Africa today. How did this continent influence your music and your spirituality?
Okay. the continent, as well, I'm not a Rasta anymore, but as Rastafarian, when then our aim and objective was to return to the land of our ancestors. And we know that we originated from the continent of Africa. And when I was Rasta, as I said, our aim was to return to the land of our fathers. And so we did songs. What I first, let me speak about myself. I would read on every piece of material that I could get coming out of Africa, especially Ethiopia. You know, we read about, as Rastas then, we read about His Imperial Majesty, his speech, you know, all his speeches. And Africa was very, very, very dear to our hearts. And it was like big Jamaica. When I say big Jamaica, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Jamaica is like Africa in every way, because I got a chance to go there. And when I went there, I heard, like in Nigeria, they speak basically like Jamaican. Their culture is basically, you know, the culture that we have here. Even the minivan that we have here, that we ride daily as a public transportation. That is their public transportation.
Absolutely. They call it the combi.
Yes, and you see people hanging out of it like
absolutely, yes.
About, you know, in here in Jamaica, you know. And when you go to Africa, you see basically everybody that you know here in Jamaica is someone that looks like someone here in Jamaica.
I can't imagine, excuse me, Judy, I can't imagine that you actually said that. It is a fact. Everywhere I walked, I would see somebody and I would even stop and say, hello, and the person would speak in a different language and I'd say, oh, that's not the person.
That's right. That's right. So as I said, we saw ourselves, and it was wonderful to know that this is the land that we yearned after. We yearned after. Well, when I was a young Ras, I wouldn't wear nothing else but African clothes. I would wear African clothes, wrap our hair in with African wraps. And every day is a different wrap, and we represented the continent. We represented our ancestors. We represented who we are, you know, as Black people. And when we got a chance to go there, it wasn't anything new that we're just trying to fit in as, you know, Black people. We were living that life here in Jamaica. So Africa was really influential. It's a continent and a people.
Tell us about your song, Black Woman.
Black woman. Wow, that's a long story. But I was always African oriented. I was always person that wanted to know more about my history, and not only in Africa, the African history, but also the diaspora, Black people in America, Black people in various parts of the world. But there was a book that I was reading. It's called To Be a Slave by Julius Lester. And somebody gave me that book. And when I got the book, I started reading, and it's as if I couldn't put down the book because it was talking about our ancestors who were slaves in the 18th century and how they were treated in the South, in the South of the Americas, and they were sold from one state to the next, and a lot of times when they were sold, they had to be tied to a horse and buggy and pull on the streets, so they would be bruised. They would be bruised, and if it's during the snow time, during the winter time, their feet would be cut up by the snow. And then I read where young girls, Arabian men, would go into Africa and they would purchase young girls like from 12, 13 to about 15, and their mothers and mainly parents would sell them because they have a lot of children that they are unable to take care of, and they needed money for the family. So they would sell one or two of their daughters to these Arabian men who decided, or what the lie was, that they were taking the girls to Arabia to have them schooled and to have them, getting the best education. What it was, they took these young girls there and they put them on the auction blocks down in Arabia when they get there. And then you would have these wealthy sheiks that would come and examine them. They were on the auction blocks naked. So they were able to examine the breasts that they want, examine the legs, examine their buttocks, and then they would purchase them. And then they would have harems, which is like some prostitute houses. And these little girls, like, as I say, 13, 12, 15, thereabout, would be raped, and they would be used as sex slaves. And when these little girls, when they get to maybe 18, they have no use to themselves anymore because they are diseased and just worn.
Sex slaves,
Yes, so at 18 the most, they would be done. They would be finished. Their lives would be finished. And if not, they would die. So when that was what I was reading, and I would be here in Jamaica, I would be on the bus. I would take the public transportation, and I'd be reading. And there was a time when I had to come off, and it wasn't my stop to come off, but I had to come off and bawl because of how it affected me badly. And so that book gave birth to the album Black Woman. And that book gave birth to the song Black Woman. So that song is very, very, very dear to my heart. because it tells me of what slavery was like in the U.S., and not only in the U.S., but even with younger girls in Arabia. They would go into Africa and sell our children. The parents would sell their children. And I mean, it might not be happening here, but I mean, the same sex slave is happening all over the world.
Absolutely.
It's happening all over the world, and it's a very painful thing to experience by reading. It was painful for me, and so that's how it was expressed in the song Black Woman.
Thank you. Today we celebrate Bob Marley's 80th birthday. What's your message to the world, Judy?
Well, my message to the world is that although it is his 80th birthday and so many years have passed, but this man has sacrificed his life to give the world the music that he has given. Some places he has never been, but the music took wings and found itself in many, many countries. He gave a message of love, a message of peace, a message of letting not just the black man to know who he is, his past and his future, but the message was a message of love. And if it is a message of love, it was a universal message. His message was one that everyone could relate to, whether you're black, white, everyone could relate to it. One love, one heart. Let's get together.
And feel all right. Mm-hmm.
And unite.
And unite,
Get
yes.
together is uniting the world together. And that was exactly what his music did, And we have to continue that message. Let that message of love, let it find itself deep in our hearts. Because right now, when we look at the world, there is no love. I mean, people talk about love, but when it comes to demonstrating it and showing the action of love, there is no love to be found. And there is where we have to go back. His songs need to be played more often. The young generations that are coming up, they need to, as I say, young generation, you have some little children that are born even 2 years ago. I find that they have gravitated to Bob Marley's music. How? I don't know how. But my granddaughter, when she was about 4, she said to me, "Me gonna listen to my Bob." Me gonna listen to my Bob.
Oh, look
about
at
4
that.
years old. She loved Bob Marley as a child, you know. And I guess it is the purity of love, the purity of love, and the purity of just caring for each other, even in the dispensation in that period of time when Bob music was very popular and we were touring all over. The atmosphere was even different. It was felt, that love and that unity and that caring for each other was felt in the atmosphere. Because whatever you say, whatever words you choose to speak, it's not just falling to the ground. Whatever we say, words are very powerful. And it goes out in the atmosphere and it manifests. So there was a manifestation of love. There was a manifestation of togetherness. You know, there was a manifestation of it was a calling everybody to the attention of uniting, whether you're white, black, or brown. It was time. It was a period. It was a dispensation of love in the air, love in the atmosphere.
Thank you very much, Judy. Okay, so before we go, I'm going to ask you one question. How are you doing today? What is your life like today?
My life like today? Well, I am basically recuperating from an illness that I experienced in the start of 2023. You know, and I'm still seeing doctors where my health is concerned. I had a surgery. I had a vocal cord surgery in 2024, November 2024. And as I said, I am recuperating. I'm thanking God that I'm alive, because so many of us they are not here today. You know, and when we look at the times that we are living in, people here today and gone tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone, you know. So my life today, I am writing some songs, and I'm a Christian now. I am not, you know, I'm singing gospel, and so I am writing songs that I know can relate to what people are going through in these times, because a song relates to a human situation, and if we can write songs that can relate to various human situations that are taking place in the world, at least it will bring hope, peace, and joy to our brothers and sisters.
Thank you so much, Judy. Thank you for your time. As we celebrate Bob Marley's 80th birthday, we also celebrate you. Thank you.
Ma'am.
And
I celebrate God.
Yes.
Because without God, there would be no talent. The gifts and the talents were compact. When we came out of our mother's womb, we came out not lacking anything. We had all the gifts and the talents that God placed in us. And I'm thanking God that we were able to use it for the betterment of humanity.
To impact the world, and that you have done.
Impact the world.
Indeed,
yes.
Indeed. God bless you. May his face continue to shine upon you and give you peace.
Thank you. Thank you, my sister.
You're welcome.
God bless you too.
Among nations, none shall escape.